Welcome back, team, to another Combat Gym Unlocks podcast, the show where we bring you people who have been there, done that, and got the battle scars to prove it, to help level up the industry at large. We like to talk to brand builders. We like to talk to gym owners. We talk to coaches. We talk to those in the industry who have got the experience that are willing to share to help you level up on your journey. Combat sports is a big universe, and we're just meeting everybody in the scene and giving you guys access to them. So that's Combat Gym Unlocks. My special guest today, he's a man that's helped build the bedrock of combat sports and Muay Thai in Australia. Mark Hammer Castagnini, welcome, mate.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Righto, bushy-tailed. It's been a little while since I touched base with you, man. It was over at IFMA at Bangkok there.
Yeah. What a great event that was too. You know, it was really great for me to see sort of the scale that the IFMA stuff's grown to. I've known Stefan Fox for many years. He's a real passionate man about the amateur stuff, you know. So I was very proud to see what they've achieved and the grandness of the event and how many countries are supporting. Yeah.
Wonderful event to be at. And of course, I got to listen to your amazing commentary again at Rebellion. Size, wonderful show there. You're next to Michael Chavello. That was incredible, mate. Yeah. What a spectacle.
Yeah, good shows around at the moment. And, you know, the good local shows, it's good to see, you know, some talent coming through. And, you know, Sai does it well. So, yeah, I was very appreciative of all the fighters on the card. I always think they deserve respect, and I try and portray or give the commentary as much positivity as you know as possible. Both fighters in the ring always deserve respect from me. Obviously, one often does a lot better than the other, but just if you've ever been in the ring, you know that it's not easy. So, you know, respect to both. That's how I like to commentate.
100%. And just listening to your commentary, mate, one thing I found is that I almost like learnt from the game. You know, I learnt a little bit more about fighting. I learned some really good tactical insights, and you just breaking it down with real nice authority. I love the way you commentate, mate. Really enjoy it.
Thank you. Yeah, look, from working with Fox Sports, I've been involved in broadcasting, especially in Australia, since cable TV or pay-per-view TV started. So that's how old I am. But the main thing that was always told to me from the producers is that, you know, you've got to commentate for the people that don't know the sport rather than the people that do. So the people that do are pretty much always armchair experts anyway, so they don't listen to me anyway. So, but I like to commentate for people that perhaps are just watching for the first time, because that's where the growth is going to be. If I'm commentating to the people that are, you know, obviously there's always people that are tuning in. And as I said, they have their own spin on things, but I want to be welcoming and educational for the people that are tuning in to you know, introduce them to the sport that we love so much. And on that's why, you know, this is a topic I'll discuss on the Hammer Time podcast I've got coming up. But someone says, why don't I call you know, push kicks teeps? Mm-hmm. Because if you know, and I'll talk about it here first. And I think it transitions over to our business mindset too. If I start throwing around Thai terminology or Thai language, that's going to alienate people that do not know the sport. You know, what the hell is a teep? We know, of course, but you know what? That's good. But then do I start calling round kicks, you know, mawashi geris? Do I start using Japanese terminology for techniques that are used in other martial arts? So I try and keep it's an English commentary. I use English. We can always, you know, pay homage to the Thai culture and the Thai techniques. But, you know, I blame Joe Rogan, you know, calling shit teeps on the UFC. It's all good. They can get away with it because people are watching. Half of them don't know what they're watching anyway, to be honest. So they just like the spectacle of two people, you know, punching the stuffing out of each other. Yeah. And that's good. That's made a lot of money for certain, you know, promoters. But to me, it's always been about respect, education, and trying to do things the right way without alienating anyone. So, you know, it's a front kick or a push kick. Yes, it's teep in Thai, but am I going to start calling everything in Thai? So it's no use to just single out one thing and start throwing that out there. So that's, yeah, as I said, going back to the early days of broadcasting and how my style of broadcasting is now, I try and educate people, try and be as exciting as possible. If I'm with Michael, it's always interesting and exciting. So it's good that we got the band back together.
Yeah,
We've done it
great
a long time.
combination. An absolute
Yeah,
great combination. I love to kick these things off, Mark, with a little curly question I like to ask. Hey, mate, your house is burning down. You get to save 3 things out of there before it goes down the ground. What are you going to save, mate?
I think I have to say, first of all, my wife. And yeah, my wife, my dog, and my Australian title belt. So, so there's the 3 things. The apartment's been. You know, we had an earthquake here in Melbourne not so long ago, and I live in an apartment. And the thing was, the place was shaking, and I'm like, what do I do here? What am I grabbing first to run out onto the street? Just so I can run on my own, or do I grab someone? So, you know, that question is not far from reality recently.
Mark Hammer out there with his Rocky boxes and his bathrobe around him, and he's got his belt. He's got his wife on the other shoulder and the dog under. What a sight,
wife
mate.
And dog. Wife and dog first.
Too good, mate. Well, let's just get into it. Like, with the origin story of everything that's happened, like, you had obviously some pivotal moments in the journey from being a fighter. Then, of course, we love to talk about business on the show, talking about being a fighter, having some pivots, making the decision, and giving the whole Hammers Gym a crack. How did that come about, mate?
Okay, so basically, I was still fighting as well. I was fighting, and I got asked. There's a karate school in the local area here called the Ultimate Martial Arts, and they asked me to come on board as a karate school, but they wanted to introduce Thai boxing because I was already, fighting, and I was active in the scene. So I started up classes, very small. Actually, my first ever student, when I really first started teaching, was Michael Chevello. So I trained Michael in my garage in my house back in the suburbs. And it was for his 21st birthday. He wanted to get in shape for his 21st. So I said, let's do it. So I'd train him in my garage. He'd run out, throw up in the garden, and then come back to training. So that was our routine a couple of times a week. So I showed him no mercy, and my teaching style's become a lot more friendly these days. So, I figured out if people are throwing up every lesson, they're probably not going to come back, The only thing that people keep going back to that makes them throw up is generally drinking on the Saturday night. So training's not the motivator for that. So Michael was really my first student. And then my ex was, she joined in. And then I got asked to help at this karate club. And it was built in an old fitness center. And they basically give me 2 squash courts. So if you know how big a squash court, it's not too big. So they had 2. They blew the wall out in between the 2, and that was where I started my Thai boxing curriculum, structured teaching. So the question was, all right, I get asked to start teaching. How am I going to do it? How am I going to? It's all right to train one fighter or one person or a fighter or a couple, but how do you scale? How do you teach when you get 10 people, 20 people? How do you teach them? How do you teach them with the right way to structure their learning and the training so it doesn't become overwhelming for them? And that was when I started really. I thought, okay, well, what's been around for centuries that is still in existence, that is in combat? It's martial arts. How does a martial arts class run? From my days of Kyokushin, because I really, my first martial art was Kyokushin, full contact karate. And I go back to my walking in, first lesson, line up, blah, 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 do all that. If you have structure and you have tradition and you have respect in your class, it manifests that way in whatever you do, be it your students, your business, or your fighters. And, people, it's funny because going back in the day when I started, there was something called Sports Blitz. It was a kickboxer forum that I ran. I started Kickboxer magazine here in Australia, International Kickboxer, which was world renowned, going back to the days of magazine. And there was a forum on there, and the debate kicked in about, you can't do that karate shit in Muay Thai. It doesn't work. You'll never build fighters. Blah blah blah. It's funny, because people that, and I know who they are, that were getting on that forum and trying to be anonymous. that were bagging me. I still see them today, and you know what? A lot of them, there's two things that have happened. They've either embraced how I teach and do it the same with structure, or they're still in their shitty little gyms with 3 or 4 fighters, and they've not grown their business, and they complain about how they can't grow their business and why is everyone, what's the problem, blah, blah, blah. It's like, as I said, I got nothing against either of it. It's if you want to have a small fight gym with half a dozen fighters and just have it as, dog fights every night and do what, that's fine. If that's your journey, that's fine. If that's what motivates you to be, involved. But I like to have more of an esoteric look at it as a martial artist. My days of fighting are well gone, and I want to just throw this up. So I had Paul Slawinski at my gym the other day, obviously for a seminar, and I've known Paul Slawinski for many, many years. We've traveled all over the world. He was the heavyweight Muay Thai champion of the world, WMC, and when WMC was, and it still to me is king, and he was a man. He fought in K1. Now, he's based his career around fighting and winning a world title, which many fighters do. But when he walks into my gym, or most gyms now, there's not many people that know him. And that's a sad thing for me. So you can base, I'm obviously, I've had my title shot too and all the rest of it. You can base your motivation around fighting and winning titles. But if you do not have a martial art philosophy, your career will be short and you will be forgotten. And we see that time in, time out with UFC fighters, with Muay Thai fighters. There's so many Muay Thai legends, a lot of them forgotten. Even in Thailand, look at these guys. Oh, you get in the cab, this guy was a Lumpini champion, blah, blah, blah. What's he doing? Driving a cab. Who knows him? Nobody. So if you base all of your efforts into just winning fights, it's not something that you can transition to business.
Good point. Look, so on that, what's your philosophy when it comes to martial arts or martial arts business practice?
Structure, systems and structure all day, respect values that have to be taught early. You got to understand, a kid walks into your gym, you teach them how to elbow someone in the face. The brutality of that cannot be underestimated. So you've got to have some process and in understanding how that person's personality is before you teach them ways to harm other people. You understand? You don't know who you're teaching these weapons to. That's a fact. So for me, it's like, you know what? You come in, you show respect, you wear a uniform, you bow in, you show respect to your trainer and your fellow students. And if that's too hard, I don't want to teach you how to hurt people. If you can't respect certain values, life values that today are very sadly lacking, why would I teach them? Why would I teach a thug to hurt someone else? Why? Because I want to have a fighter that's, in the corner. I don't need to be in the corner. I've been on enough broadcasts and I've been at enough shows. It doesn't tickle my fancy anymore to stand in the corner and be the hero for 10 minutes. I'd rather watch a fights. But some fighters, some trainers, they live like some parents live through their kids. Some trainers live through their fighters, and they're in the corner and they're doing all the stuff, and they think it's about them. Number one, it's not about them. Number two, you're dealing with someone that you've got to get through a fight, and to me, it's about my fighter not getting hurt, not telling them to get their elbows, their face elbowed off, because you can look tough with your fighter. You're not fighting. Pull your head in. Get your fighter through the fight with the least damage. My original karate instructor, going back to when I moved to Thai boxing, kickboxing, he was, oh, you're going to do that? He goes, you know what I see? He goes, I see at the end of a fight, 2 fighters standing there waiting for the decision. They both bleeding, cut, damaged. And then they say someone won. How can you say someone won? They both wrecked. He go, to me, it was like, man, that makes sense. I want to be the guy that doesn't get damaged. Yeah? Then you won a fight. If you get through a fight and you inflict score or damage and you don't get hurt, that's when you won. But if you're both standing there looking like you've run into a truck at 60k an hour, did you really win the fight? So and having said that, I was that guy. I won my fights because people just got tired of hitting me. I just had mental resolve that I wouldn't break. You know, my defense was terrible, and I've only become a decent martial artist since I started teaching, because then you have to display. You have to display good technique.
That's really interesting. I mean, like, think about guys that do manage to get through fights without getting hurt. People like Israel Adesanya, right? I know you know well, and you've commentated some of his fights, seen him come up time and time again. He puts it on people, but he's very strategic about not taking on damage. And that's a real skill set, right? Being defensive and being an attacker. So in terms of, Jim, in terms of pinpointing strategy for, you know, actually hitting success, we talked about the early days where you were sort of allowed to experiment with a couple of squash courts, but then obviously things changed and you scaled. Like, can you talk about what changed during that journey that enabled you to scale and go bigger and become Hammer's Gym as we know it today?
Absolutely. So I was teaching, you know, I've always worked 3 jobs. I was in corporate for 22 years as a general manager of a publishing company. I've had other businesses. I had a nightclub as well. So I was working through the day. I was teaching at night. I was still, you know, training for myself. And then when I stopped doing that, I opened a nightclub, and I was working security. And then from the work in security, I opened my own nightclub. I digress a bit because it's an important point. So I opened this nightclub, ran it for 7 odd years, struggled with it every weekend. It was hard, you know, still training, working, you know, corporate, doing all of this. I had a very full plate.
Yeah.
Anyway, I went to a meeting with some nightclub people here in Melbourne that was about music rights and stuff. And one guy knew I was struggling. He goes, "Hammer, everyone knows you. Everyone knows you as a fighter." He goes, "I'll give you advice. I know you're doing it tough in your nightclub. Stick to what you know. Don't get involved in stuff that you don't know. That's our business, you know." And as hard as that was, I wanted to punch his face in when he said it, mind you. But as hard as it was for me to have that said to me, I thought, you know, he's probably right. I know martial arts. I know Muay Thai. I know the fight game. It's my contacts. It's my life. It's my passion. So that was when I said, you know what, I shut the club down. I lost a load of money. I was pretty much broke. Again, I've been broke a couple of times, and I had to start from scratch. And I said, you know, I was looking at things happening in America with full-time facilities. And I just, you know, went out, started looking for places that I could go to, sites that I could go to. I found a site. I did my area analysis first. There's a lot of people, you know, so I've got a map. I looked where I was teaching, which was a little way, you know, a few K up the road. I didn't want to affect their business by opening near them. So all good intentions. Also, I didn't want to go and open next to other gyms, like gyms, you know, fight gyms, Muay Thai, whatever it would be, schools or whatever. So I identified an area that had a real void, and it was, you know, was a good medium, middle class area, high disposable incomes, you know, so they had money. There was nothing in the area. And I thought, I got a good feeling as soon as I saw this building. It had good car parking. It didn't have a lot of road frontage. That's something I learned from that original Hammer's Gym. And if you look on YouTube, you'll see the opening of Hammer's Gym. Original one was 2008, I believe. And I opened it, and I got Danny Green to come and help me. I rang Danny because I'd interviewed him for Fox Sports. I said, "Man, I'm opening a gym. Will you come?" And he was on Dancing with the Stars at the time, and he was filming the finale of Dancing with the Stars. It was a big thing. Yeah, Channel 7 had him locked in a studio. It was a big day of filming. He goes, "Man, I'm filming this finale." He goes, "I can't get out." He goes, "You know what? Have a car waiting for me. They're going to give me a lunch break. As soon as I get a lunch break, I'm going to come down to the gym. We're going to do the opening." And I had one of my boys there sitting out the front in the car. He's raced out, and the Channel 7 studios, mind you, is probably half an hour or so away from where my gym opening was. And Danny Green, the absolute legend, come down, and he walked in and he goes, "Man, I love the feeling of this place. You know, we had a full-size ring, had a small weights area, you know, a matted area, bags." Like the one thing I learned from my nightclub days is I opened a nightclub and it was half done. Like I took shortcuts. And I thought, when I open my businesses now, I never go, "Oh, you know what? We'll open and then we'll fix that later." It's like your house, you know, you renovate your house. I will do a renovation and we'll just move in and we'll paint later. You never do the later stuff. Life takes you, and it's the same in a gym or a business. So my advice is, if you open, you get one chance to make a first impression. Do it right, especially for grand openings and stuff, because people come and they'll assess you. You know, it's like a nightclub grand opening. They come and they assess that business at that moment, and you know, stuff you're going to leave for later never gets done. So every time I've opened, I make sure every picture's straight, floors clean, bathrooms on point, mats, you know, look impressive. You know, people are rolling around on the mats, putting their face down there. I walk into some gyms, there's dirt, there's dust. It's like, you know, we compete with Anytime Fitness, Fitness First, you know, Good Life in Australia. There's massive franchises here in Australia and big gym businesses. You get towels, you get coffee, you get this, you get that. And what, you think you're going to open a gym, have dirt on the floor, and the general public's going to come in and go, oh, yeah, this guy's a good guy. I'm going to give him twice as much fees to train in a dirty gym and have no structure. You know, come on. You know, martial arts is, you know, fight gyms and martial arts business mythology goes against everything that a normal business does. Normal businesses embrace the new client. The new client is everything. The existing clients are the ones that they sort of go, oh yeah, you know, we deal with, you know, we deal with Clean every day. He's been a client of mine for 10 years. We're mates. He's all good. So when a new person comes in, it's like, hey, how are you? Blah blah blah. You give them that love. So think about a fight gym or a martial art gym. It's different. Come in, you go, you at the back, shut up, don't ask questions. I'll hold pads for you when I'm ready. Just come in and skip and do the work, and then you see these business owners putting all their efforts into these few fighters and neglecting, and mind you, most fighters don't even pay fees. So they're putting all their time into people that don't appreciate it, don't pay fees, you know, take advantage of the structure of the business. And they neglect the people that are coming in, wallet in hand, just looking for a change, just looking for a service, just looking for friendship, just looking for, you know, trying to better their life. And they push them to the side because they've got their hero fighters over there that are getting all the attention. So that's where a lot of people, they don't get it. You know, get it. You know, you've got to work. Someone comes in and first of all, walking into a gym is a buying sign, even if they're shopping you. So take that as, you know, to walk into a fight gym or a martial art gym is very, very, very confronting. We all forget because we did it probably 20 years ago or 10 years ago. It's like, yeah, it's cool. They're the best place in the world. But you know what? Someone that knows nothing about fighting, that thinks they'd like to try boxing, Muay Thai, MMA, whatever, they're shit scared when they walk into the door. They're panicking. They think they're going to get bashed, half of them. It's not the case, obviously. But you got to put yourself in the mind of someone that's buying your product, not how you think. Always be the client first. What would you want if you walked into a gym? How do you want to be treated? And if you go with that method, you sort of can't go wrong. So, you know, going back to how I started, it was always be on point, be clean, know that you're competing with multi-million-dollar gym empires. So does your facility stack up? You know, does it? If someone goes to Fitness First, what will they think of your gym if they walk in? Is it as clean? Is it as organized? Are you as professional as those people at the front desk of a Fitness First or any other gym? So this is why franchises are doing so well, because they educate their franchisees as to step by step how to deal with their business. And
I love that.
You know, so you know, people that don't know go to franchise model because it teaches them, but the franchise model is never profitable because it's all about the franchising brand taking your percentage.
Yep,
man.
That's right.
So you know that's does that sort of answer your question?
It's really good. I want to continue on with this. Like for some context for the people out there, what kind of membership are we talking about at Hammer's Gym? Just so we can put that into context with another gym likewise in terms of fitness, general fitness.
Look, Hammer's Gym is known. It's obviously I've got my weights and I've got my 24/7, 24/7 facility. We do fitness classes as well as our Muay Thai classes. We've got Muay Thai, we've got MMA, we've got wrestling, BJJ. There's karate that sublease a part of the building that I like to encourage as well, and boxing is a big thing too. So, but it's all been how have I built it around my Muay Thai predominantly, and I'm heading towards 2,000 members now.
Wow, that's amazing. So these are paying fees annually or paying month to month? How does your, generally speaking, like how does your offering work?
I've got a couple of different payment tiers and a couple of different options that people can choose. And there's no commitment these days. No one wants to be locked in because there's a lot of bad publicity on locking contracts. So if someone's going to lock in for 6 or 12 months, I make it financially rewarding, as you should. If someone's on a casual, not a casual is very expensive, just a walk in, walk out. But let me put it as a no commitment or commitment free agreement is a little bit more expensive, but they can cancel at any time. So
brilliant.
But I've got no fear of that, because I know when they start training with me, my retention is off the chart. People don't leave when they start training in my martial arts systems. Gym people are different. They host. They go from gym to gym, and they try and everything, man. So gym people are different. They just try and everything, and it's something new and shiny. If you have community, though, having said that, I've got a good gym community because it follows the structure that and the way that I suppose the personality types that are encouraged to my gym are the people that they're like-minded. So that flows over to the gym. The people that come in, I've had a few bodybuilders come in, on the gear, this, that. They're not comfortable in my gym because number one, they walk in, they may be 100 kilo, but they see guys in the ring 65 kilo, they could probably towel them up. So the ego goes shattered immediately. And the guys that are 65 kilo that, working, training at the gym, they're the nicest people you'll meet. So it doesn't fit with it fries their thought process, because they're used to going into hardcore bodybuilding gyms. Everyone's looking everyone up and down.
Everyone looking at them and getting that
so
recognition.
You come to my gym and it's like, man, everyone says hello to everybody. It's a good culture. When I had my original gym, it was a lot smaller and it was a lot more of a family, I suppose. Everyone knew everyone, literally. But when you've scaled to the size, that can't be possible. But at least you may not know that person well, but you can still give them a smile and you can still nod and say hello when you walk past them.
I like that.
And then there's the little sub communities within the gym. So there's the weights people and the fitness people. They got their little groups and they train and they go have coffees together and all that. The Muay Thai people, same. They train, they go and eat after. The BJJ people, they have their own little community groups and they go to BJJ comps together. So I've created these little sub communities within a bigger dynamic. And how I've done that is it's a lot more to it.
Yeah, of course. And I'd like to unpack that for a second, if I may. Just around being intentional and creating culture. We talked about retention. Retention's one thing. You said that you cross that bridge by systems and the way that you have your syllabus structured, because it's a fact, a known fact around the industry, that if you aren't fighting, you generally lose a bit of interest by year 1 to year 3 and drop off. But you're saying you've got great retention. So how do you intentionally develop that? How do you intentionally develop retention so people can learn from what you're doing?
It's a grading structure, and I've got my own grading structure, but I've also worked on Muay Thai Systems International, which are like-minded gyms following a similar structure. So, I'll talk about karate or taekwondo or kung fu or aikido or hapkido or whatever it might be. Every martial art has some sort of structure that has been around for centuries.
Yes.
Unfortunately, a lot of Muay Thai people are that arrogant. They think they don't need to. They're like, oh no, we don't do that shit. Well, then that's why you've got 3 people in your gym. What do you want me to tell you? So arrogance of we don't need to do it. And I see some things out there now putting shit on other martial arts. because we're Muay Thai fighters, and I don't like it, man. I don't like it, because you know what? Imagine it was the other way around, and everyone was ridiculing us, for running around with our funny, headbands and stuff. You wouldn't like it. So respect. If you want to be respected, respect yourself and respect others. My gym moniker on the wall, I've had it since 1995. I sat in my office and I said, I need something to put on the wall, my T-shirts, and it was respect all, fear none. I live by that, man. I've worked on nightclub doors. I've had people pull guns, knives, attack me with baseball bats. I can talk the talk, man. And you know what? I don't fear anyone. The worst thing can happen to me is I die, and I'm not going to know about that anyway because I'm dead. So I'm not fearful of it, but I still believe if someone's in the gym, doesn't matter what martial art system they're training, I respect that person. I don't make fun of them. Respect. So first of all, if you're making fun of things, who are you? There's a lot of people in Muay Thai now, particularly, that are sticking their noses into gyms, poaching fighters, talking about stuff they shouldn't be talking about, and they've done nothing and they are nobody. And it's like, to those people, they're the ones that are like, you know what, better to stay out of my way, because I don't want to entertain idiots too. But these days, everyone has a voice. Any crackhead on the street can have an iPhone and post opinions on things and give me business advice. Tell me what you've done to get. I say this to people that I mentor. I'm like, never take advice from someone doing worse off than you. Someone's doing worse off than you. We're going to listen to them for. Aspire and listen to people that have been there, done that, and where you would like to be. I've had mentors. One of my mentors was a man called Craig Dobbs, who was the head of Fox Sports for many years. He give me no favors, man. He'd call me out on a lot of stuff, and sometimes it would hurt. He'd say stuff, and I'm like, wow, that's like really harsh. But you know what? As a fighter, and I say this to my students, if I'm taking a class and I'm harsh, and I am sometimes, if you're offended by me saying words to you, how are you going to go when someone's across the ring from you trying to punch your face in? That's a little bit more. That's a little bit more offensive than me saying a couple of things here. These days, everyone's offended and everyone's fucking so sensitive about shit. It's like, stay in your lane. Life is hard. Harden up. The world's not going to change to adapt around you. No one cares. Everyone's got a problem and everyone's got a story, and no one cares at the end of the day. So if you want to do something for yourself, you've got to be thick-skinned, you've got to be resilient. And going back to when people were making fun of me, how I was teaching and saying you can't build fighters. Well, guess what? I have 90% win ratio when my fighters fight. And my first fighter that trained in my system, I didn't let him fight here in a pub or a small fucking, community hall. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to test my system. His name was David Bashner and Michael Roach, the two boys. I said, boys, you're graded up to a certain level in my system. Now we're going to go to Thailand, and I'll put you in the ring in Thailand. We're going to see if this shit works. And you know what? Great. They won. My fighters, I don't have fighters and normal people club. Everyone has to train together, because I don't believe in segregation.
Yeah.
And you know what? How do fighters of a novice level make money these days? Because they're like, oh, I'm not making any money. So there's ticket deals. How do you get ticket deals? Well, you invite your friends, your community. If you don't have a lot of friends, how the hell are you going to sell tickets? Number one is you got 50 people, if you're lucky, most gyms don't, or 20 people training around you. There's 20 tickets you can probably sell to support you at your fight. So if you're training on your own, Mr. Hero over there in the corner, making the funny noises when you're kicking the bag and not training with anyone else, that's good for you, but then it's not going to sell tickets for any promoters. And that's, you've got to bring people on your journey. You've got to be a part of a club. You've got to help others in order to have them support you and follow you and want to be a part of your journey. Therefore, you'll get support from your fellow gym mates. It builds community within your gym. The promoters are happy because you're selling them tickets. You're getting a lick because you're selling them a few tickets as well. And it's a good atmosphere when you fight. So where's the loss in that? So,
no loss. Brilliant. Good advice. Sound advice. Yeah,
don't be a prima donna. Go to the gym. Work in the class with Mr. 9 to 5 over there. That's training just to get out of the house. who can't throw a punch to save his life at the start, these are the people you want to help, because who knows how they'll help you as well. And it's
yes.
nice to be nice and good to help people.
I like that, because I mean, this no ego that you have set from the top. This is an attitude that's coming from the top. You talked about what you have on the wall: respect all, fear none. These mantras that you live by. People, when they come in, they adopt this. They become part of this programming, and of course, that creates culture. So you are being very intentional about the people who are attracted to your gym, and they get sort of bought into the culture of the gym and support each other. It's something I really enjoy.
Absolutely. You know, the people with the wrong attitudes don't stay anyway, and I don't want them, because they're detrimental to my business. They'll beat up on beginners. They won't be friendly. They won't respect the facility. They won't respect themselves or each other or other people. I don't want them in my gym. They can go somewhere else. So you know, if you come to my gym, and I have people that come to my gym that tell me, oh, I've trained for 2 years, I've fought this, that, and I'm like, oh, that's nice. I go, let's put you in the beginner's class and see where you're at. If you're that good, you use it as a beginner. You use it as a warm-up. And I'll say this. So people are like, oh, you know, you can't do that with fighters, blah, 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 blah. Jimmy Crew, UFC fighter. He come and trained at my gym. Sam Greco had a heart problem. He reached out to me, said, can you help Jimmy? And I said, no problem. I love Jimmy. Let's bring him. I'm glad that he, you know, respect it. And I was very honored that I was given that. They wanted me to help Jimmy with his striking. And I was so appreciative of that opportunity from Sam. So Jimmy came down, and I said, man, I've got to do my class. I'm going to help you, but do you mind just jumping into the class and just using it as a warm-up? Work with. And he goes, nah, I love that. And Jimmy jumped in the class, man, UFC fighter, stand at the back of the class and just worked along with everyone else. You know, and then after the class, let's go, Jim, let's go do your pads, bro. And we worked, and I'm like, this is the attitude. I get people come to me, I've had 2 fights, this, that. I put them in my beginner's class, and Muppet is not the right word to describe how bad they are. And they're telling me that. I'm like, and my trainers, a couple of my trainers and I, it's sort of, it's not one or twice. I have people come from overseas. I've fought, I've done this, I've done that. And they can't even throw any basic techniques, not on a bag. Now, the reason why I do line work is because if you're always kicking a bag or a pad, you don't develop core strength and balance. In a fight, 80% of what you throw, and I'll just generalize, 80% of what you throw in a fight is either blocked or misses. Yeah. So you should train for when you miss, because when you miss, how is your composure? Can you throw a shot off the missed shot? Can you roll from one shot to the next? Are you going to lose balance? Now, these are things that martial arts have taught through the years. You go back to, you know, the Bruce Lees and the this and the that and all the stuff that has popularized martial art. It's about freestyle. It's about adapting. It's about, you know, having an open mind. So I use all of those mantras, as you say, and I'm like, you know what? First of all, jump in line, do the basics with intention, with focus, clear your mind of all your problems. It's active meditation. You know, training is active meditation. You're forced to stop thinking about your problems. That was my life, man. I've had, you know, business issues. I've had, you know, 2 marriages. I've had, you know, a lot of trauma in my life too. And training has always been my salvation. It's been my 1 hour of reset. You know, if you're stuck on a problem and you're doing a test at school, what do they tell you to do?
Move to the next problem. Yeah.
And then come back to it. This is what we do every night when we train. You walk in a gym, you leave your problems at the door, because sure as hell they're going to be there after training. Train for 1 hour, do your thing, get some good endorphins going. And then when you go back out, you'll deal with that problem with a whole different perspective, you know, and a fresh mind, and you've done something, you know, good for yourself. So that problem that you've been so bogged down in, or that, you know, that issue with a relationship or whatever it might be, leave it, come back to it, and maybe it'll just reset you. You know, computers, when they have a bit of a meltdown, what do? You reset yourself, man. You know. Yeah. So, yeah, as I said, Clint, I'm sorry. I've got a lot that I like to, and I take my hat off to you for doing something that is good for our industry. It's talking about stuff that matters, not just fight stuff and egotistical shit, man, because that goes and comes. You know, as I said, I love Paul, and I was actually quite upset that this guy was the world heavyweight champion, and no less than a few years later, people don't even give him recognition anymore. So if your agenda is just about winning a world title, maybe think that that's good for you, but no one's going to care. I prefer to leave a legacy and help people on their life journey that have drug and alcohol issues or mental health issues. They come to the gym, and it really does change people's lives. That's me helping someone to turn their life around is better than any title I could win, better than any fight I could win.
That's the drug, right?
It's a fleeting moment, you know, it's a fleeting moment. You'll get it. And I say this to my fighters when they're so nervous before the fight. I go, you're going to walk out there, you're worried about everyone watching you. Oh, you're panicking. Oh, what are they going to think? Well, if I go to a fight show and I sit there through 10 fights and I say to you, do you remember that fighter in fight number 2 that lost? You're not going to know who the hell I'm talking about. You don't care. Who the fuck is he? Who cares? So why have the pressure of all this? Oh, everyone's looking at me. No one cares. No one cares. The people that are there to support their friends and family. If they're true friends and they love and true family members with love, win or lose, they're going to love you anyway, and they'll still be your friends, and they're still related. You know, just because you lose a fight, they're not going to disown you, and you have to go and find another family. You know, they love you, win or lose.
You might have lost the fight, but you learned a lot, right? And you can build on that. That's the whole idea of the progression, and the progression is the happiness. So with you've been part of the bedrock, which is modern Muay Thai, modern combat sports in Australia. You've seen it move from just like strength to strength. What do you think makes combat sport and Muay Thai in particular, you've got so many good fighters there in Australia, so popular? What resonates with the people so much? What do you think it is?
I think fighters that are entertaining, and that goes from your ring entrance. You know, your first, as I said, you get one chance to make a first impression. Your ring entrance is your first impression. Too many. So you come out and, you know, you got a bit of, think about all the great fighters, you know, in history. The ring entrances have always been entertaining. So that's, you know, you've got to be an entertainer. People go to fight shows to be entertained, for the atmosphere, for the spectacle, for, you know, for the rush. So you got to be part of building that. So, you know, whatever, you can come to the ring with intensity, you can come with flair, you know, so make that, you know, well presented and be respectful and humble, obviously, as well. And then it comes down to being a great, clean, technical fighter as well. You know, you think about look at Sanchai, man. Like, why does everyone love Sanchai? Because he's such a showman. You know, look at his demeanor. Look at how he carries himself. And I've had
so
Sanchai
relaxed,
at my gym,
so confident.
Man, you know,
so, yeah.
And I use Sanchai because he's very, I suppose, relatable to the audience that will probably be watching this. So, you know, you've got Buchau. Buchau had the intensity, and he had, you know, all the fame from, you know, from the big events he fought on. And man, I've traveled to everywhere from Jamaica to Kazakhstan and everywhere in between. So I've seen fights and I've commentated fights all over the world. And there's, you know, it's just about having fights that are memorable. And if you talk about, I go back to, you know, two fighters cracking each other with elbows and all that, that's great. But that's almost expected and common. No disrespect to anyone. But if you got someone that does a spinning kick and, you know, and does something that's, you know, like a Sanchai move, that is, you know, everyone's waiting, you know. It's like, why do people go and watch car racing? Because they want to see someone crash. They don't care about who's going to win. They're waiting for the crashes. So when you go and watch a fighter that is exciting, it's edge of your seat. What's he going to do? When's he going to throw that spin? You know, when's he going to have that dynamic moment? So if you're a grinder, or you know, there's been fighters in the past that have been really heavy grapplers that just walk through punches, hang on, clinch, knee. That's not going to grow our sport, and that's not going to grow fans. And no one cares if you need old mate in the body 5 times. Who gives a shit? You know, so it's like I had to, when Thai boxing started on TV in Australia, I was tasked with getting people to understand why fighters were clinching. Because you'd go to fight shows in Australia and they're like, mate, stop hugging, you poof, this, that. You know, no disrespect. So, you know, but that was what people, not me, that was what people were saying, you know. So it was like I had to do Hammer fight tips. And if you go and look on YouTube, I was doing fight tips before Instagram. I beat you. I started that shit. So don't come at me with all the fight tips now, some of which are ridiculous. So education.
Education, yeah. So being a voice of the people, hearing what the people are saying, and just educating them in an entertaining way, right? That's not alienating the scene. Instead, you're growing the scene collectively. Very, very tall order, and not easy to do. It takes a lot of skill, and that's your whole commentary piece. And so if you go along the lines of it, it's been Mark Hammer, the fighter, Mark Hammer, the businessman, and growing a gym business empire, and of course Mark Hammer, the media mogul, the guy who's in the commentary, the guy calling the fights and breaking it down for people. Which of those three roles do you enjoy most? And do they all interchangeable and you enjoy all three of them?
Well, that's a great question, Clint. It's a good one. You got me thinking. It's so hard, yeah. I loved being, a nobody that sort of become known in the industry that I love so much. I'm very appreciative when someone comes up and says hello and says they watch the fights and they know me. It's like a really, man. As I said, I've had a hard upbringing. I've had a hard life in some ways when I was younger. So I never thought I'd be sitting where I am. I never thought I'd have what I have. I finished school at I was 15 years of age. So I don't have I don't have a big education, but I've managed companies. I've been a general manager of a company with people that have gone to university and have university degrees. So a lot of it is just about embracing whatever situation I'm in. What do I like doing now? I like teaching beginners. I like people coming in because they look at you with like so much enthusiasm and they appreciate everything you say to them and they respect you for the most. Some of them think I'm just a bit of a weirdo, because I'm yelling shit out and I'm, telling them to do certain things, and they'll, it's very foreign. I go back to how what we spoke about earlier. Walking into a martial art gym or a fight gym is very foreign to some people. So you've got to be firm but relatable. And in today's society, especially for guys, men are almost suppressed. So going into a fight gym, you can be that guy. You can hit stuff and it's not bad, and and you can let your aggression out without people frowning at you. So having a drill sergeant at the front of the class that is like, come on, that's not happening anywhere. In schools, kids say, oh, you got to speak to little Johnny like this. I don't give a shit about little Johnny. Line up, little Johnny, and do what I'm telling you, or else you're going to be physically punished by doing push-ups, sit-ups, and then you're probably going to get bashed in sparring. And watch how they toe the line. So now in Australia, there's a big thing with youth crime here, with kids running through houses and stealing cars and all of that, because they know they get away with it, man. I knew what I could get away with as a kid. So push the boundaries. Kids are being recruited by crime organisations because they know they can run through and steal stuff, take it back to base, sell it, boom. Who's getting charged? No one. So making kids accountable for their behaviours, where can that happen now? Nowhere. Not even parents can control their kids in some ways. So a lot of parents will go, they've got to go somewhere that is not so politically correct that kids just get away with everything. Where is that for us? That's a martial arts school. You go, you line up, you show respect, you bow, you be humble, you be respectful, you don't beat up on anyone, you learn to defend yourself, you learn to carry yourself, with a certain confidence. So you don't need to rage on anyone because, with knowing how to defend yourself and knowing, what you're capable of comes a certain confidence that then means you don't have to utilize that. I worked on the doors of nightclubs for 20 years, and I'd always say, man, you don't like me. And people are telling me they're going to do certain things to my mother and all the rest of it. I'm like, I'll tell you what, I'll give you the first punch. I'll let you throw a shot at me. And I did. I never hit anyone first. I don't need to. All this stuff about hit first, be fast. Yeah, it's a good way to go to jail if you like. For me, it's like, if you throw a punch at me, my legal defense is then built. You've attacked me first. So you've assaulted me, or you've attempted to assault me. Then it becomes me answering. So all this stuff about, if it's a multiple attack, there's a whole different thing we go into here. But I go back to teaching beginners, instilling confidence, instilling, I suppose, the ability to deal with life and not be fearful, finding an environment with like-minded people that challenge you, that push you. And as I said, if you're offended by words, you've really got a problem when someone's running through your house stealing shit. Yeah. So people that are gonna, the people that are running through houses or stealing cars, I don't think they're worried too much about your pronouns and all of that. You know what I'm saying? They're just robbing you. And the weaker you are, the more you're going to get taken advantage of. So, I want to build resilience in people. I want to build community in my gym. I want people around, to have people around me that are, willing to take on the world and face the world and all its problems, business, family, outside, whatever it might be, and know that it's everything in life to me is a fight. It always has been. I've had to fight for everything I've got. So, when we talk about business, I went, as I said earlier, I picked an area where there was no gyms. I now have between 35 and 40 gyms within a 5K radius of my gym.
But that doesn't affect you really, does it? Because you've built all of the community. You've got a great product, incredible retention. People are getting the outcomes they're looking for.
Yeah. So yes, and every business should have a USP. And there's something, you got to have a unique selling proposition. What makes you unique? What makes you different? What point can you bring to the table when someone walks in and goes, "I'm thinking of joining here"? I've got many USPs.
Give us a couple, mate. Give us two. Give us two hot USPs from Mark the Hammer Castagnini.
Okay. Well, if it's another gym in the area, with I look at my competitors. They're not 24/7. They don't have infrared saunas, and they haven't had the array of world-class people from Dolph Lundgren, Steven Seagal, Anderson Silva, GSP. Have they trained at their gym? I've made that happen at my gym. It cost me a bit. It took a lot of effort, but I've looked for things to grow my brand and my opportunity. And you know what? People do seminars and they try and charge and make money out of them. Every seminar I've done has cost me money. I don't do seminars to make money. I've never did shows to make money. Promotions. My last promotion, I spent $80,000 on it. That was a Jabbar Askarov, Jonathan Oyulu show. Best main event.
Could I guess?
I spent $80,000. Yeah, and I was just about to say $80K, 8 weeks work, made $1,000.
Can I guess that your motivation for that is to build brand and it's essentially your marketing?
Correct. Everything is about, as I said, even with the seminars, I do my seminars for most free for my members as a member benefit. They don't pay. People from outside, if they want to come and join, well, then they've got to pay a small fee, But my members, and then what happens is my members think it's normal, yeah? Then they go to another gym, they're like, shit, they got to pay for everything there. Do you know? Yeah. And I do it because where else can they go where they can train with world-class athletes and have that given to them as a member benefit? Because then they tell their friends, social media, it spreads. So you can't look at everything as an expense. You got to weigh up expense versus investment. Is it just an expense or is it an investment? So I'll always analyze every opportunity and go, well, is it an expense or an investment? From the equipment, from the, the people I bring in. So going back to the USPs, you can train boxing, you can train Muay Thai, you can wrestle, you can do jiu-jitsu. You're tired of doing all that, use a gym. Why did I build the facility that I have? Because in my first Hammers gym, every member that left, I always did an exit interview with. And I always got that intel. Why are you leaving? Have I done something wrong? Don't you like the training? Did you get hurt? You learn more from people that are not your fans or are leaving your business, then often you can learn from people that love it, because they love it. They're not going to say nothing bad. So people were leaving not because they didn't like Muay Thai or the training. They just wanted a change. They just go, oh man, you know, I've been doing this for 2 years or whatever. I just want to go do some weights with my boys now and this, that, but I'll come back. So I thought, I was really sad. I used to stand there doing my class, and I could see the reception from where I teach. And when I'd see people coming in to fill in their cancellation form, and my heart would break a little bit every time, you know. So and I'm like, you know, so I took away from that. I'm like, what can I do to keep my retention? Why are they leaving? They're leaving because they want to do weights. I'm going to give them weights. So it's all here.
Yeah, gotcha.
There's just one of many things.
Well, look, I mean, if they've got to leave, they've got to come in, they've got to tell the class at large that they're leaving, and then they've got to do 500 kicks each leg. They've got to do 50 burpees. They got to do 100 press-ups, and they got to go 3 rounds with the hammer, and then they can leave.
There's one more thing. They got to give me a positive Google review. Boom.
Bravo,
and then I might
mate.
charge them a cancellation fee.
That's too good. Where do you see the future of it all going, mate? Where do you see the future of Muay Thai in Australia? Where do you see combat sports media and the space sort of bubbling up within that? And where do you see the gym industry at large heading in the next 5 to 10 years? Give us some of your hot predictions. Give us some hot takes from the hammer.
Man, it's I'd like to say with Muay Thai, you know, the growth is there as it's been in the past, but you know, there's been so much things about one championship, but the reality is the organisation is in quite a bit of debt, and I feel it's not grown; it's actually shrunk. So those big shows, international shows, they're not doing them anymore. Some of the things they're doing, I don't agree with, to be honest with you.
Such
Muay
as,
Thai
what do you think, mate? What would you call it out on? What would you say one championship is not doing right?
I think it's I'm trying to tactically choose what I say here, but maybe you know what? Maybe screw that. I think there's people making fighters do things that they would never do. You put 2 Muay Thai fighters in a ring and you get them to fight with MMA gloves. That's good spectacle for the crowd. But you know what? I'm big on concussion. In Australia, there's a brain institute here that I've gone off and had scans done, because I used to fight, and this is going old school now. Because I boxed as well. I'd have a boxing fight, and I was, you know, wasn't getting paid a lot or at all. I'd go from having my boxing fight, I'd have my work clothes, my bouncing work clothes in the car, and I'd drive from having a fight and getting probably concussion, because that was how I used to fight, just all in. And I'd go stand on the door of a nightclub and then probably fight there again. And everything that was wrong for concussion management, I did.
You were doing,
you know.
Yeah.
So and then now I will never. I don't want to do that to my fighters, and I don't want to see people get hurt. As I said, you know, going back to the initial conversation, it's all right for a trainer to go in, do this, do that, get smashed. Yeah, is it really though? Would you do it? Would you? Because you didn't. You know, you actually have never done it. So why are you telling someone else to do it? So fighter welfare is always paramount for me. I think, you know, the fighting Muay Thai with the MMA gloves, it's all right in MMA because you've got submissions and they wrestle on the ground for 3 out of 5 minutes sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of stuff there, even with MMA. It is a brutal sport, and there's not a lot of money. And there's, you know, and only, you know, you can buy a lottery ticket or you can try and be a UFC world champion. You probably got the same odds on both. You know, so, you know, fighters that put so much into wanting, you know, you have to want it and you have to be dedicated and you have to go above and beyond. Like, you know, Alex Volkanovski, man, what a journey he's had. And I'm so happy for the accolades and everything that he's done now. But you know what? He's still with the same gym. He hasn't, you know, prostituted himself out and run off and turned his back. He's still with the same gym. He's still helping others. He's still, you know, he's still maintained that martial art discipline. That's what I respect. So digressing a bit, the guys that do well have a certain mentality. Now, if you look at one championship, I think they've tried to take on UFC. It's never going to happen. There's a bias there for Asian talent because that's the Asian market. You know, the Westerners that do well really are fighting against the odds, and you know, against a lot of I've managed fighters. You can manage fighters that do well have to be managed well.
Yes.
You got two fighters of the same ability, the same skill, this, that. Who gets the better opportunity? The one that has the better business manager. That's in boxing. That's in Muay Thai.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You got to have contacts. You got to have, you know, there's many good fighters that never get opportunities. And there's many fighters that are just okay. They get a lot of opportunities. Why? Because they're managed right and they're planned right. I'll tell you something about with my team. I've had two of my fighters fight in Las Vegas, online fight. How did I make that happen? These guys they were just local fighters. So I rang Lion Fight and I said, I've got a couple of boys here that have got good records. We want to get on Lion Fight. Australia's too far. Okay. So how do I fix that problem?
Bridge the gap.
You know what? We want to fight in Lion Fight. Las Vegas, it's a life. It's not all about money for me. It's not all about, you know, it's not all about that. It's about creating lifetime memories that other people will never experience. So I said, I've got two boys. If they were in the States, you'd get them on your show, yeah, Scotty Kent. He goes, yep. I said, well, let's pretend they live in the States. I'm going to fly them to Vegas. I'll pay. We'll work it out. I'll get them on your show. You'll have two Aussies fighting two Americans. They're going to cost you zip. All I ask for you to do is give them a purse that you would an American fighter, give them meal money and accommodation. The rest I'm looking after. I'll find a way to make it happen. And those two guys fought in America, something that very few Australians will do, on the Las Vegas Strip with all the promo, worldwide, you know, exposure. And what a life memory when they're sitting at home telling their grandkids, I went to Las Vegas. Huh? How do we make that happen? I wasn't waiting for someone to fly me to America. I'm like, I'll fly myself there. Just give us, and as a promoter, I know if someone rang me and said, Hammer, I'm from America. I've got two Americans. They're going to fly themselves to Melbourne to fight on Warriors Way. Am I really going to say no to them? Of course not. Once again, that's my USP in fighter management. My unique selling proposition to the promoter was, I'm not going to ask you for money. I'm going to make you money, bro. Every business I've worked with as a general manager and a sales manager, when I have a client, I embrace that client like it's my business. If you work for a business and you act like you own that business, not your worker, clock in, clock off, get my money, go home, you know, screw the boss, this, that. That's a very short term mentality that will take you nowhere. But if you work in the business, when I worked for Blitz Publications and I left after 20 years, or 22, people thought I owned it. They're like, what do you mean you're leaving? I said, oh, I'm done. I'm going to go. I just want to teach and do Hammer Time Fight Show and all that. Oh, you don't own it? No. No one knew I didn't own the business because they all thought that I worked in that. I give my soul, man. Like every client that I managed, if they had an advertising campaign and I looked at it and I'm like, that's not going to work. I'm like, save your money, bro. Don't waste your money advertising with me because it's not going to get return on investment. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I can't take your money. You've got to buy into any given situation in this world. You've got to take it to heart. You've got to invest yourself fully. If you work for someone, work like you own the company. If you train fighters, think like you're having that fight. You know, don't throw your fighters into fights that's going to get them hurt or put them into situations just to stand in the corner and be a hero for 5 minutes. No one cares about you. Trainers in the corner, no one cares. Don't make it about you. It doesn't matter about your silver cup and all of that. No one cares about you. It's about your fighter. Do the best thing for your fighter. Do the best thing for your business. When you do the right thing by others, it sort of attracts the right outcomes in other ways. Hopefully, you know.
And with the combat sports media and entertainment, the way that you're doing things and sort of proliferation across all these little platforms, what do you think's in store for combat sports media and entertainment going down the track? Obviously, you've talked about some of the big platforms like One, etc. Where do you see it all heading in the next sort of 5 years?
Look, I think the pay-per-view stuff, the live streaming, I've seen that go from, shows getting 150 buys to now getting 1,000. So it's almost like there's been a tenfold growth in that area, because as people become more comfortable with watching on devices, that market is definitely growing. Live combat sports that I do a lot of stuff with, that platform was a hard push, but now it's growing and people are getting more accustomed to looking at streaming. It can be detrimental to people actually going to events, because why go to a fight show when you can stay at home with 5 of your mates and have a few beers and watch it on your device or whatever. So the pros and cons, it's just about embracing whatever that might be. You can't beat live. You can't beat being in an arena or in a stadium or in a room and watching fighting. That's the ultimate for me. So I never want to see that compromised because of streaming.
And I don't think you will. To be fair, look at Rebellion. It was a sold out show. You were there live. Obviously, they had plenty of pay-per-view buys. But if anyone's in town or local, they're going to go and support their guy. Or, Andrew and his team, they had a bunch of supporters fly out from Sydney to go and support their fighters on the show. People are going to still turn up, right?
Yeah. And that's and they'll turn up, and we default back to what we spoke about earlier. If that person has made support part of their camp, if they've trained with a group, if they're trained in classes, do they take classes? Do they help beginners? Are they part of the gym community? Do they have a big network? Generally, people that have a big network, they're good networkers. They bring people together. So they're the ones that will, that's good. Now that'll bring people to the show. The guys that at the start, I didn't want a lot of people coming to my fights, because I'm like, oh man, I didn't fight for fame, and I didn't fight for any other reason, but I wanted to test myself against whoever, wherever, however. So it wasn't about any of that for me, but that was also something perhaps I didn't do right. But I was only in the gym with there was 4 or 5 of us really in the gym. It was a very small gym. There wasn't the community that I have that is available now. So, the streaming is going to get bigger. The social media stuff is obviously, always on the up and up. But, I as much as I say there's social media is good, and it's a necessary evil for one of a better terminology. There's a lot of damage that social media does, because kids see all these moves, and you see 10 pad moves, and and it's like, show me a fight wherever that's ever going to happen, So then people can get body image issues by seeing dudes with abs and muscled up and all that. You can sort of go, oh, well, I'm never going to be as good as that guy hitting the pads. So it's good that, it's aspirational and in some ways motivational, but it can also have a negative. So as much as you show the technical stuff, show the real basics, encourage people to just be involved by not making it so grand and so brutal. I'll give you one analogy. My gym marketing in the early days, all the gyms used to have guys with tops off, boom, abs, that was in the magazines and papers and local paper. Never would I do that. Never. You know why? Give it to me.
Like, okay, I just want to go back about my own story about when I first got started with martial arts. I wouldn't take my t-shirt off that summer for 2 years. Because I was, dad bod, 40 plus, had an injury, got overweight, seriously depressed, and seeing some dude with washboard abs is only going to turn me off, mate.
Yeah, and it's
not relatable. Not relatable to me.
Absolutely. And if you're marketing stuff with guys that look like, all that, you got to think, as I said, the hardest part of starting in a gym is walking in. Now, if you think you're going to be alienated because you're a bit overweight or because you're self-conscious, maybe you've got eczema. You don't want to take your shirt off. Maybe you're just not happy. You got a funny nipple or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? Why? Why am I going to make people take their shit off? It's not for me. you know.
Yeah.
And even with the fighter training, you know, guys want to rip it off. You know, I get it. They're proud of this is their work, body of art. Yeah, but you know what? No, just leave. If I do fighter training and we do clinching without a shirt on, because you got to learn and grab someone that's a slippery bugger, you know, that's fine. But I do it.
Yeah.
I do it in a closed session, or we go off on the side, or we do it in our, you know, fighter training sessions that are, you know, over and above the classes. But I'm not going to have a room full of people with no tops on, and, you know, girls with the little crop tops on. Girls aren't already comfortable with their bodies. You're going to make them run around little titty tops on? No, none of that. I'm going to have guys with no tops on. Stop it. Stop. You guys that are doing it, stop it, because it's not helping your business.
Stop.
Stop
that. Stop doing it.
Stop it. Put your shirt on. Put your clothes on. You voyeuristic bastards.
God, what a bunch of incredible insights, mate. Like it's like a commentary. I'm sure people, if they listen back to this and they just give it the chance and give it the air, you know, will get a lot of wisdom out of it. We're, of course, going to chop it up into little bits as well, which we're super excited about. I mean, looking forward now, after everything you've done, what are the next challenges? What are the big projects you've got coming up in the next 5 years or so for yourself? You've done so much. Is it about getting better at what you're already doing, or have you got your sights set on something else? What's going on?
Look, and I suppose I look at what I've created as being a bit of a legacy. You know, I don't want my system to finish when I do, if that makes sense. If something happens and I'm no longer on the planet, or I'm incapable of teaching, I don't want the years of work to stop. So there's, you know, one or two of my trainers that I'm going to bring into the business, and they'll be rewarded financially. They're younger. Hopefully the legacy will continue with them. I would like the Muay Thai Systems International, and I know, you know, a lot of people were hesitant, but this is a curriculum that can be plugged into any Muay Thai gym. It's nothing to do with me. Guys, don't panic. It's not about me. None to do with me. All I've done is I've put a structured system.
Oh, there goes Hammer. We probably got on his phone. We were talking about the Muay Thai Systems.
Yeah.
Muay Thai Systems International.
Yeah.
Pick it up from there, Hammer.
Yeah. So the Muay Thai Systems International is something that's a plug and play that will help every Muay Thai gym to grow. I promise you. If you embrace it and you plug it in, I'm not saying to change your branding. You know, there's guys like Beast Gym that, you know, Johnny Bowman's still got his Beast Gym. We just run a little Muay Thai International logo on there. The instructors are certified. They follow a teaching curriculum. They have a grading and progression system that works. So, as you said, rightly so, 95% of people in most Muay Thai gyms or fight gyms generally never going to fight, never. So, how do you retain them? How do you keep them engaged? How do you keep them growing within your business, within your school? You give them rewards, and it's, for me, gradings are not about pass or fail. No, there's enough things in life that test us. Gradings are about a checkpoint for your student. Mm-hmm. So we have a formal grading. We test them on their jab, cross, push kick, leg kick, straight knee, straight elbow, round elbow. We give them feedback. No one gets the grade unless they have 80% proficiency. Then we put it together. We test their fitness. We test their core. We test their technical ability. We test a little bit of their partner drilling and sparring as they grow in the ranks. They get given a sheet and it says, you're good at this. You need to work on that. Then they go away and that's some feedback. So it acts as a customer service that they don't just roll up and give you their money. You're invested and you buy into their progression within the fighting system, within the martial art, by giving them feedback ongoing at different times that helps them grow, not only as a fighter, but of course, most importantly, as a martial artist, because martial arts is for life. Fighting is for this much of your life. Martial arts is for this much. I can't even, it's bigger than the screen.
Yeah.
It's for it. Martial arts is a lifelong pursuit. Fighting is a small, very, very small part of your life. And if we love and embrace our training and we know that it's done good for us, why wouldn't you want that continue beyond being in the ring? And you can only do that if you have the thought process, of a martial artist rather than a combat sport athlete. It's like footy
Mm-hmm.
players. You see footy players play footy, then you see them 10 years later, they're fat, they're out of condition, they've got mental health issues, you know, this, that. Yeah, because the discipline that they've had in that part of their life is gone. So you have to have, you know, martial arts and training has given us all many benefits. If you only have that for a small part of your life, and you go, okay, well, I was really fit and I was really focused and I met my wife and I had all this success at work when I was training, and then you stop training. Why would you do that? Because you're only as good as your last training session. And you don't have to train 5 times a week, but at least lob up 2 times a week. And if you can't train, help others.
Yeah, good.
There's so much reward in helping a young kid that has no self-esteem, that can't look at you in the face. They have no self-confidence. You teach them a jab, cross, a knee, someone grabs you, grab a knee. You'll defend yourself, bro. I'm telling you. You know, you see them grow. That's the reward. That's something that you can do when you're 80, not 18. Yeah,
brilliant.
So it's a lifetime pursuit for me, and it always will be.
Just to recap on that, this was the Muay Thai. What did you say it was? We might have to link that back in the show notes. What was it called?
Muay Thai Systems International. And you know what? I'm going to send you a curriculum book, because I'd love for you to have a look at it and understand what I've created there, because this is just something for gyms to utilize. And then I give them all the marketing support, and I give them any other support when they join. And the reason for that is if they attain a certain level. So at the moment, someone can walk into my gym and say, I've trained 2 years. And I'm like, oh yeah, well, you should be there. Then they start training and you go, what is happening?
There it is. It's linked at the bottom there, MuayThaiSystemsInternational.com.
Thank you. So the reason is we create a registry of gyms that are aligned. So when a student gets to, say, a red level, which is above beginner, they walk. If someone's graded to that level and they walk into my gym, they come from Brisbane. They train at one of our affiliates in Brisbane. They walk into my gym and they go, I'm a red level. There's my certificate, or this is my rank. I know where to put them. They're in my intermediate class. They're not a beginner. They're not an advanced. They're in my intermediate class. So they have a recognition that transitions to any gym that is affiliated. So as an instructor, I go, this kid's trained at Beast Gym. He's got to that level. I know where to put him. I know what his skill ability will be at. I'll know what his proficiency is at. Just as I said, like martial arts, if you're a blue belt, if you're in jiu-jitsu, you're a purple belt, and you go to another jiu-jitsu gym, they know what your level of ability will be. Oh, he's a purple belt, he's really good. Or, you know, he's a black belt, well, then it's exceptional. Or he's a white belt, well, he's got to learn more. So as I said, you know, it's giving us all some sort of understanding to being able to cross collaborate. So when people move from state to state, from suburb to suburb, they will look for a gym that has the same teaching structure as the gym where they've come from, or else you could just be walking into anything. So yeah, it gives them some uniformity. It's a bit of uniformity across the industry, so that people's, you know, time in training and achievements are recognized no matter where they go. If they're not, and that's fighters, obviously.
So that's how people stay in touch. And obviously this has been a life contribution of your work as part of that. And it's something that you have indoctrinated into your own gym. You're not pushing out something that you're not doing for yourself. This has been tried and true for yourself. And this is, you know, decades of work. So on that, I think if people want to stay in touch with Mark the Hammer, this is your Instagram down the bottom. We've got Mark Hammer Castagnini on Instagram. Make sure you're following. If you're in Melbourne town, right? If you're in the 04, drop in and go see Mark at Hammer's gym. And don't walk in there like a peacock telling them that you've trained for 2 years and you're the man. Just turn up and say you want to train, and he'll help you out.
They can if they like. I've got some good. I've had that, and I'm like, let's do some pads, bro. And you can tell me all about it. And
there's a couch. Well. There's the couch over there, mate. Go have a Panadol and a lie down. I love it, mate. It's been an absolute pearl of catching up with you. Whenever I'm in Melbourne town, you know where I'm coming. Look, all the best, brother. I'm really excited to continue to watch your journey unfold, and I will be supporting as well. getting in there, getting in the thick of things. And yeah, if I see you doing anything crazy, Matt, I'll call you out on it.
You do that. My life is a little bit crazy at all times, man. So it's just another day for me. Another
till
day.
Till the wheels fall off, eh, Mark?
That's it. That's my life. Absolutely.
All right, guys. We appreciate
Thanks,
you guys
man.
being with us. Thank you for joining us on Combat Gym Unlocks. Stay tuned.